Hello everybody and welcome back to my video gaming channel Retro Gamer Diaries. So let's get started by me first asking you a question. Do you remember the Wimpy restaurants? You know, come on over to my place, we're having a Wimpy.
You're feeling blue, ain't no use in staying at home. I know what you should do. Come on over to my place. Hey you, we're having a Wimpy. We'll be swinging, dancing and singing. Come on over tonight. Won't you come on over tonight? Yeah, 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 yeah.
Okay, perhaps you might not remember these commercials, not if you were born in the 90s, but in the 80s, Mr Wimpy was a very popular fast food chain of restaurants. The first Wimpy bar opened at the Lions Corner House, London in 1954, and Wimpy were the first to serve hamburger-based meals in the UK. In fact, there were as many as 400 restaurants across the country and over 1,000 in 23 countries. Wimpy became a global brand and it was our British McDonald's and it was doing very well. Well, that was until McDonald's invaded our shores from the USA. Those Big Macs were too tasty. Today, the Wimpy outlets have significantly decreased in numbers in the United Kingdom. They can still be found in some towns and cities, but nothing like its high street glory days in the 80s. And they're also mostly owned by franchises and not company-owned operations. Sad, but there again, you can't beat a Big Mac. Anyway, why am I giving us all a lesson on a pretty defunct fast food restaurant chain, I hear you say? Well, there was a game I played in the 80s based on the Wimpy license, and that's what we're going to talk about today. Brilliant stuff, eh? Let's get started. So, Mr Wimpy, subtitled The Hamburger Game, is a platform game released by Ocean Software in 1984 for the Oric 1, ZX Spectrum, BBC Micro and Commodore 64. It was a promotional tie with the Wimpy restaurant chain, and the game includes the Wimpy logo, mascot and the theme tune. And in case you have not heard of Ocean Software Limited, they are a British software development company that became one of the biggest European video game developers and publishers of the 1980s and 1990s. The company was founded by David Ward and John Woods and was based in Manchester. Ocean developed dozens of games for a variety of systems such as the ZX Spectrum, the Oric 1, Commodore 64, Dragon 32 and 64, the MSX, the Amstrad CPC, the Commodore 16, the Atari ST, Amiga, the IBM PC, the BBC Micro. And they also developed games for the Nintendo Entertainment System, the Super Nintendo, the Master System and the Mega Drive. They were an absolute powerhouse. Anyway, back to Mr Wimpy. The game developers for Mr Wimpy were John Woods. He's the guy who founded Ocean Software, as I said earlier. John wrote the Oric game. And here's another interesting fact about Mr Woods. Did you know that he was also the co-owner of the Everton Football Club? Amazing. In fact, his family's involvement also stretches back to 1892 when one of his ancestors loaned the fledgling Everton £1,000 sterling to build the original Goodison Road stand. Wow, there you go. Then there's Paul Owens. He wrote the Spectrum game. He's particularly best known for writing the ZX Spectrum version of Daley, Thompson's Decathlon. Paul's career mainly did concentrate on the ZX Spectrum. He wrote over 14 titles in fact, but also collaborated with other games and other platforms including the Amstrad CPC. Now, Richard Kay, he wrote the BBC Micro game. And this guy, he went on to establish Software Creations in 1985, which is now known as Acclaim Studios Manchester. And finally, there's David Selwood. He wrote the Commodore 64 game, and I have to say, I don't have a picture of David. Now, before I start, it is important to point out that Mr Wimpy is not an original game. Well, not entirely anyway. In fact, it's a clone of the 1982 Data East arcade video game Burger Time. And in this game, the player is Chef Peter Pepper, who must walk over hamburger ingredients in a maze of platforms and ladders while avoiding hot dogs, fried eggs and pickles which are in pursuit of him. Okay, so now we've seen Burger Time, let's have a look at the Mr Wimpy game. First up, we'll look at the ZX Spectrum game of Mr Wimpy. Then we'll look at the Oric, Commodore 64 and then lastly the BBC Micro version. So here we are on the first screen. I have to say it does remind me of that Ultimate Psst game. Anyway, the first screen has Mr Wimpy attempting to assemble the ingredients. He must carry a tray from the left of the screen over to the right, where there are 3 items to be collected one at a time, a lump of cheese and 2 other ingredients. However, Mr Wimpy has to cross his kitchen while avoiding moving manholes, and as an added hazard, a character called Waldo tries to steal these ingredients from him. I have to say, I did find this level quite hard. That stupid Waldo is bloody hard to avoid. And when you finally manage to get all 3 ingredients back across to the left, then you progress to the second screen, which is the more familiar Burger Time format. Here, the player must guide Mr Wimpy across the platforms while walking over 4 various burger ingredients, which in turn cause them to crash to the platform below and finally to the 4 plates at the bottom. Mr Wimpy must also avoid various enemies. You can also spray pepper at the enemies, which temporarily freezes them for a few seconds. And the enemies can also be trapped and squashed by walking over burger ingredients while they're on the level below. Now, this platform portion of the game features the following enemies: Sid Sauce, a walking sausage; Augie Egg, a walking fried egg; Sam Spoon, a walking spoon; and Pam Pickle, a walking pickle. And as you progress in the game, the number of enemies increase. Mr Wimpy's only defence against the enemies are to trap them between the following burger ingredients and to temporarily freeze them with pepper. Only a small supply of pepper, up to 4 bottles, can be carried at a time. When the player is low on pepper, more can be acquired by collecting a coffee cup or ice cream. Players are given 4 lives at the start of the game, any of which can be lost in the opening ladder level by falling down a moving pothole or by getting caught by an enemy in the platform portion of the game. So be careful. Okay, so let's have a look at the Oric version. Again, you start off in that frustrating Waldo level. I mean, I just want to get through this level and get onto the Burger Time levels. Anyway, let's just have a look. Okay, so here we are on the burger level. At the start, there is a sausage and a spoon after you, but later on, they are joined by a fried egg and a pickle. This was quite a popular game in the Oric, and it was well programmed. The movement is smooth and the sound is suitable, including a little theme tune, although there is no music during the play, which is a bit of a shame really. The Oric version does compare quite well with the ZX Spectrum and the Commodore 64 version, which we're going to look at next, and I still like playing this version today, I have to say. Okay, here we are. This is the Commodore 64 version. Another interesting fact about the Mr Wimpy mascot is that he's actually a London beefeater. Probably due to the fact that he eats beef burgers, I guess. However, what you might not know is that the name Mr Wimpy is based on a character from the Popeye comics called J. Wellington Wimpy, generally referred to as Wimpy, and he loves eating hamburgers. Well, there you go. Anyway, back to the Commodore 64 game, where we start again in that very frustrating first level, and then we end up back to the burger time levels. Finally, this is the BBC Micro version coded by Richard Kay and first released in 1984. First of all, I need to get this out of the way. This is the worst conversion. The BBC version of Mr Wimpy has one major problem when compared to the other ports, and that is it's frustrating and unforgivably unplayable. I particularly have no idea what's going on with the moving up and down the ladders onto the platforms. It just doesn't work properly, and you lose life after life just trying to get off the flipping ladder. So annoying. I also noticed that when you lose a life, you can easily lose another and then another because of how Mr Wimpy respawns, and because the AI of enemies is so direct. The game basically doesn't really give you a chance. It feels like the game's actually been designed to kill you right away and not even give you a chance to play. Very poor. As difficult as the original Burger Time is, it does at least allow you to fool your enemies by using your position and direction to influence their pathfinding. However, the BBC Mr Wimpy is designed for the enemies to run at you directly. Really frustrating. I've also read that the game has been reported to be unfinished too, and apparently when you get to level 7 there are actually no ladders leading up to the top level, so it is impossible to complete. Jesus. So overall, the BBC Mr Wimpy is badly coded, badly presented, and amateurishly produced, and insufficiently play tested, and is incredibly annoying to play. So you're probably picking up from my tone that I do not recommend this version at all. Just avoid it at all costs. In fact, you should play the original ZX Spectrum or any other version of Mr Wimpy bar this one because it is so shit. Now, that's not where the story ends, believe it or not. There was actually a Mr Wimpy remake. Yes, a remake. That was developed by Croza Games in 2017, and this version also has new maps. I have to say, for me, these new and different maps with the new visuals gives Mr Wimpy a new life. Let's have a little look. Okay, so there you go. So what did I think of Mr Wimpy the game and all the ports? Well, firstly, all versions are slightly different from each other, but that BBC Micro version is definitely the worst to play. Just so badly programmed and frustrating to play. So I don't really want to say anything else about the BBC Micro Mr Wimpy, it's just not worth playing. However, the ZX Spectrum, Oric and Commodore 64 versions are much better to play. And obviously that 2017 remake is a standard above these 40-year-old versions too. For me, Mr Wimpy across all versions except the BBC version is a colourful game with smooth graphics and reasonably good sound. However, that first screen with that Waldo fella is an absolute pain, pinching your tray. He's just too intelligent. In fact, I'm not really too sure why they added this level, as it was not in the original Burger Time game. Perhaps Ocean just wanted to add this level to try and separate it slightly from the arcade game that it was obviously copying. However, once you do finally get through the first level, then you are through to the Burger Time levels, thank God. And what I found with these levels is they do start off easy, but I have to say it does get much more difficult at the higher levels. And because of this, as a result, I did find the game tended to lose its addictiveness after 1 to 2 hours of playing. And that's what I would say about this game. It's at least 1 or 2 hours of gameplay for you, and you wouldn't really keep coming back to play it. So, from all this, how would I rate this overall game? Well, that BBC Micro is only getting 3 out of 10 stars for being, well, shit really. But I will give the ZX Spectrum, the Oric and the Commodore 64 7 out of 10 stars. So there you have it, a delightful blend of fast food promotion and retro gaming. If you ever find yourself craving virtual burgers, give Mr Wimpy a play. So I hope you liked my short video. If you did, then please press that like button, leave a comment, or even better, subscribe to my channel. That would be great, and if you have already subscribed, then I have to say thank you. Spot on everybody. Anyway, until the next time, I'm off for a Big Mac. See ya!